The ponies were simply there. For a long time, it didn't occur to me that I might one day want to befriend them. Whenever I went for walks on the moor, they were just a natural part of the landscape, often grazing, sometimes snoozing together. They belonged there, and their ancestors had lived on this land for millennia. Later, I started horse riding, and suddenly equines became a major focus of my life. I didn't just enjoy being around horses. I totally fell in love with them, with their presence, their sensitivity, the way they responded to humans and to things we weren't even aware of. After a while, I wanted a horse of my own, but that wasn't possible at the time. It was around then that the thought arose that perhaps I could try to approach the ponies. I knew I couldn't own them and I didn't want to interfere with their lives. I was simply longing for equine presence, for some kind of relationship, however small or tentative. Even as the idea formed, I could feel that this was easier said than done. These were wild animals with powerful jaws and strong back legs, and it wasn't clear how I might befriend them. At first, I thought I should do some research, find books or some material I could study. I hoped that there might be instructions or techniques I could apply. But I couldn't find anything that felt applicable. Although I knew something about domestic horses, I realized quite quickly that this didn't tell me much about being with wild ones. I tried approaching a little, then stopping, watching how the ponies moved away if I got too close. Even when I stepped very slowly, they would shift the moment I crossed a line that was invisible to me, but obviously very clear to them. Many attempts followed, and it often felt as though I was getting nowhere. Then, one day, while walking on the moor, a memory surfaced. It was a nature documentary that I had seen as a child. I couldn't recall the details, the name of the program or the place or even the context, but I remembered a man walking through an African landscape in such a way that the animals did not scatter. They simply continued with their lives, as though he wasn't relevant to them. He wasn't invisible. The animals were clearly aware of him. They just weren't disturbed by his presence. Standing there, it occurred to me that since I couldn't find a book or apply a technique, perhaps I would have to work out how I could become quiet enough not to disrupt what was already there. So I began to pay attention to my own presence, how I moved, what my internal state was like, where my attention and intention were, how even standing supposedly still could send signals that unsettled the ponies. It became a process of trial and feedback, noticing what created tension, noticing what allowed things to settle again. I didn't have a teacher or a method I could follow. I only had a single thread that I could keep returning to. Stillness. Not as something to achieve, but as a way of orienting myself. I kept experimenting, watching, learning what worked and what didn't. The ponies offered constant feedback, and I learned to take my cues from them. I had no sense yet of where this might lead. I only had the feeling that I had stumbled onto the beginning of a path, one that asked me to slow down enough to be truly here.